If my life depended on me choosing between the MiG-15 and the F-86 Sabre in a 1v1 guns-only dogfight, I'm choosing the MiG-15, simply because it fits my playstyle better. And I think this skit sums up the matchup perfectly.
Gentlemen, I believe you both know the purpose of this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Tollaby, but the circumstances of our meeting are well known to us. There is no need of further explanation.
Aye, let us be about the business.
The business! Let us be about it.
Very well, gentlemen.
Let us be in the business of going about the business.
Very well, then.
In hand. Aye, the business in hand.
So be it. Sir David, I understand the choice is yours. Sword or pistol?
Sword,
As you wish.
'tis the only weapon for a gentleman.
Just so. That means, Mr. Van Hoyle, that you have the pistol. I thank you, sir. Now, gentlemen, when you are...
The F-86 is the Sabre. It's the gentleman's aircraft. It's quick and nimble, feels more responsive in the controls, a much faster roll rate, overall a much more athletic feeling aircraft than the MiG-15. But the MiG-15 does one thing better, and that one thing is the rate. And it does it better than any other jet in DCS. It can't beat the top modern jets because it doesn't have an afterburner, but in the rate, it's still number one.
If you ain't first, you're last.
And just like the old musket pistol only has one shot, my MiG-15 is probably only going to get one shot before the F-86 Sabre tightens down his circle and with his faster roll rate causes me to overshoot. And that's when the F-86 truly becomes the Sabre, because just like a sword, he wants me in that close quarters turning fight where he can slice me up. But forcing the two circle on the other player is one of my favorite strategies in DCS, and it's why the MiG-15 and I get along so well. And as each loop goes by, this upcoming camera angle should show just how rapidly the MiG-15 is closing the distance on the Sabre. And if you notice, he keeps tightening down just a little more and more, and as much as I'm trying to push the two circle, he's trying to force the one circle. And by constantly rolling into lead, he's rolling us right into a rolling scissor, which should shift the advantage back to the Sabre with its superior roll rate. Again, I love this camera angle, which shows just how close we are to firing range. But I gotta be very careful as he goes nose down and he outrolls me. I'm gonna try to pull him into the HUD as my opportunity is waning. I'll have to time my pull as he tightens down his circle, which I was hoping would be here. He does a good job of getting over my nose, and as I'm going out in front, this spiral has come to an end. But we're not going to try to win back the overshoot. I see my exit window open and I safely exit on the down, avoiding his guns, and because we stayed in max throttle the entire time, I maintained my corner speed, which is about 550 kilometers for the MiG-15. Perfect rate speed might be a little bit faster, but not having a G-suit and at the risk of blacking out, I think 550 is a pretty good number. And when you see me constantly looking back into my cockpit, I'm checking my speed. And look how fast we're already coming around on him. If we both flew our perfect corner speed, I'm still going to outrate him. But because he had to slow down to get the overshoot and then he pulled to take a shot, that allowed us to come around the circle even faster. And it looks like he's decided to make a move here. He's trying to push it back into a one circle, or he might be trying to set up his overshoot. He does a good job of staying over my nose here. He's going to reverse his turn. He's trying to set up the overshoot, but I might have a shot. Just missed, and just like before, we're going to exit on the down, maintaining our speed, and go right back into the rate. And I'm looking behind me, watching his nose, making sure he can't get guns on. As long as I'm seeing the top of his aircraft, I know I'm safe. I think he initially did pull hard, but now he's got to go nose down to get his speed back. Checking my speed, about 500 kilometers, constantly checking. And this late in the dogfight, we could probably move the number a little bit lower to 500. I'm not actually in the aircraft feeling the G's, so that's my excuse for constantly checking my speed. I know there's some players that just claim they can feel it. I guess you could use that word. For me, the MiG-15 feels heavy, the controls at least. I find myself using a lot of rudder to get it moving in the direction I want. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing all of my turns just with the rudder. And if you go too far over on the angle of attack, which is just pulling too hard, no matter what speed you are, you can stall the wings. And as we can tell from this angle, it looks like this dogfight might be coming to an end as I'm really closing in on him. Oof. I think it was the 37mm cannon that killed the pilot instantly.
I love that sound.
If you notice, my air brake is out right now. I find that the engine is pretty slow to spool up and down, making the throttle feel not very responsive, and usually on other jets right before the merge I put in the afterburner, but since the MiG-15 doesn't have an afterburner, I will fly in max throttle holding the air brake to keep that maximum amount of thrust up. As soon as we merge, I close the air brakes, in essence almost using my air brakes like the throttle instead of actually moving the throttle. I feel like I get a faster response from the air brakes than I do from the actual throttle moving in and out. And going back to our merge, if you notice, my opponent went almost straight vertical while I did more of a horizontal oblique, trying to set up my game plan of the two circle right off the merge. And I'm losing color in my vision, which means I'm starting to black out. Notice that I'm now extending the air brakes as I was hitting about 600 kilometers while holding my turn, which is closer to its perfect rate speed. But if you're blacked out, none of that matters. And without a G-suit, that's why I said 550 I think is a pretty safe number. His roll rate is just more than I can keep up with. And speaking of safe, if I keep this up, I'm gonna go out in front right about now. So just like before, I see my opportunity and I'm gonna exit on the down. And I was under his nose when I did that, so hopefully he'll have a hard time seeing me. Nope, he sees me.
I'm in danger!
If we look at his aspect, he showed the bottom of his aircraft for just a moment, and as his aspect changed, just look how much of the top of his aircraft we're seeing now. I was in danger, but only for a moment, and as we check my speed, I'm just over 500. Holding my turn and keeping my speed is what kept me safe while he was firing, and it's what I try to tell new players: when you're in the dominant rate fighter and the other player gets the overshoot, you don't always have to win the overshoot back. Sometimes it's better to just hold your speed and go around. Just look how fast we're already back on his 6, although he is in the sun. And it's always satisfying when you have a little bit of adversity, but you stick to the plan and it all comes together.
I love it when a plan comes together.
This is the isolating valve switch. The green light indicates it's on, and while it could be my imagination or a placebo effect, I swear the MiG-15 feels like it's more responsive in the throttle and rates better with it on. The MiG-15 has 3 auto cannons. We have the 37mm cannon on the right with 2 23mm cannons on the left. Its intended job was bomber destruction. So I'm always surprised when I hit an enemy with these babies and they don't immediately go down. And it looks like for this round, this Sabre is trying to set up some kind of sneaky high energy merge. But getting back to the guns on the MiG, I've been experimenting with adjusting the dials on the gyro. One is the wingspan dial, so you can dial in for different size aircraft. The other, ballistic compensation or the bullet convergence. But to be honest, I haven't found any settings that I'm comfortable with or prefer. Did you hear that ringing sound? That was my ears. You have to be very careful when you push the stick forward and create negative Gs. It's very easy to red out the MiG-15 pilot. Getting back to the guns and the gyro settings, I've honestly just been spawning in with it on default and kind of eyeballing it or firing from the hip. I saw a video on YouTube where it said if the Russian pilots aimed where the sight said, the 23mm rounds would go above the plane and the 37mm rounds would go under the plane. So in frustration, some of the pilots would give up on the gyro and simply paint markings on the windshield. And I find that kind of funny because that was what I was experiencing. I just try to get as close as I can before I fire, and thank goodness you can see the rounds in DCS. I'm pretty sure these are not tracers because it doesn't really hold that much ammo. It's got 40 rounds of 37mm and 160 rounds of 23mm. And it doesn't have ammo counter, but it simply has lights that go off when there's no ammo left. Got him, as Chip would say. We landed the big shot, but at the same time we're going to use this as an exit window to go back around. So he took a lot of damage, but he's not out yet, and that may be realistic. I have seen videos about the Korean War where some F-86s did survive being shot up by the MiG-15. So he turns, but it's not a complete reverse as he goes straight vertical. I know he wants the one circle, but he might be trying to bait me into a head-on as well. Instead of me going up and trading shots in a head-on, I'm going to try to cut underneath him where he can't pull for the shot. He just can't get his nose on me. And as he goes back down and I'm looking behind me, we're almost back to where we started. And it can be kind of frustrating to have to keep going back around, but if we just stay within our game plan, force the two circle, we will come back around on him. It's also got to be very frustrating for the F-86 pilot to constantly watch the MiG-15 forcing the two-circle. And even though we're getting into these loops, this is still a vertical rate fight. And honestly, right now, he's throwing so much smoke out, I'm having a hard time predicting which way he's gonna turn. It's like the smoke screen from Spy Hunter. Not exactly sure how he did it, but he stayed really fast, and with his better roll rate, he somehow created more turning room for himself. And you can see from this camera angle just how much separation he created in the loop. Uh-oh, looks like he blacked out. He might have got too fast and pulled too many G's. It's the final round, and this dogfight's already in progress. For time's sake, I limited the video to only 4 rounds. I included this round, which was the closest the Sabre came to getting me, and unlike before where I exit on the down, this time I tried to follow him up slightly and then exit, which caused me to exit a little bit slower, allowing him to get a position. Luckily, it sounds like he only hit me with 1 bullet. Unlike the heavy cannons of its rival, the MiG-15, the Sabre relies on volume. You have a very high volume of fire, but the individual rounds lack the explosive power to down a target in 1 hit. You often need a sustained burst to cause critical damage. The Sabre has 6 Colt Browning 50 caliber machine guns. Rate of fire is close to 1,200 rounds per minute per gun, with an ammo capacity of 300 rounds per gun, equaling 1,800 rounds total, which when it adds up is a lot of firepower. Which goes to show just how different the philosophies were when developing these aircraft. In my opinion, they look so similar, even though I think they were developed in isolation from one another. If I see one of these guys in team deathmatch, I usually have to get really close and look at the tail before I can distinguish between who's who, and yet they both are completely different in handling and firepower, and I think overall philosophy. And for the most part in this session, the F-86 just couldn't touch the MiG-15. I could just keep going around and be safe the entire night, but to be a little bit more sporting, I'm going to try to play the slow game with him.
Got him again.
You can see me opening the brakes here, and this is where I'm going to try to start turning with him, which is not the MiG-15's strong point. In a 1v1 situation, I'm always going to choose the MiG-15 over the Sabre. But what happens if it's 2v2? That's something I'd really love to try out, especially with the F-86 faster roll rate. How would that work in 2v2? If I exit the rolling scissor on the down, what's his wingman gonna do? Will his wingman shoot me as I go back into my rate? Or if he rolls to get the overshoot, will my wingman shoot him? Could they constantly just keep rolling out of our gun sight? Now add even more aircraft and make it squadron versus squadron, and the dynamics change even more. That's why if it's a duel, I'm choosing the MiG-15, but if it's team deathmatch, I'm taking the Sabre. I like that it has more ammo to deal with more targets, a faster roll rate, it's quicker and more responsive on the controls, and overall the ergonomics for that situation are just better. But I'm still on team MiG-15 because it is one of my favorite aircraft. I prefer flying the rate instead of what I call flip-flopping into the 1 circle. I'm just kidding. I know some people would say the 2 circle is boring. It's pretty exciting to me to get around the circle as fast as you can, and I know NASCAR has made a lot of money on it.
Anyone out there who wants to go fast?
I want to go fast!
And speaking of fast, watch how fast the onset of these G's sneak up on me, and I immediately take a nap. And since I am blacked out, I might as well take this opportunity to tell you about the VR headset I'm currently using. Enjoy perfect black levels while you're blacked out thanks to these Sony OLED panels, which are inside the Pimax Super Micro OLED version. And I am coming too, but it looks like we're both just about out of fuel, so this fight's probably a draw. The Pimax Super Micro OLED is my current favorite headset. The number 3 reason probably is the OLED panels, which give the best colors and contrast. The number 2 reason is the pancake lens. And the number 1 reason would be the lack of eye strain. When I'm in contention, the hours can really pass by, and this version gives me the least amount of eye strain than any other version. So until I find a VR headset that has OLED panels, pancake lens, and a wider FOV, I'll be staying on this bandwagon. Use my code RELOAD for a small discount, and check the website for any additional promotions which are running all the time. Please use the links in my description below, which really does help support the channel. That about wraps up the video, and I hope you enjoyed. Are you on team MiG-15 or F-86 Sabre? Let me know down below in the comments.